Hi, it's the Catholic CEO, Henry Katarna. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you'll be able to check out our website, thecatholicceo.com. Take a look at all of our offerings. We have a free course, 7 Steps to Starting Your Own Business. We're here to support Catholics in their business. The purpose of the Catholic CEO, we believe that you can be Catholic and successful in business, and there's a way to do that. And this is the whole point of our existence. Today, I'd like to talk to you about certain ways that we can handle employee issues that come up in our business, which could then lead us to be promoters of family life and Catholic families and supporting our employees in ways that make us overtly a Catholic business. In other words, we want to be not only Catholics who own businesses, but we want to be Catholics who own Catholic businesses. And there is a way to do that, even in the complexity of this popular culture that we live in right now. Here's a few quick ideas on something like this. I've been worrying about pricing a lot in recent times, pricing, because in post, pandemic times, what we're noticing is some inflation is creeping in, and there's some predatory pricing going on. If you buy gas, you know what I'm talking about. And I could name you some other products that are almost even the subject to jokes and smart remarks because they are being hoarded by people. And so there's some rationing going on in predatory pricing. So a quick comment about pricing, just as we begin. The Catholic business, of course, does not want to promote predatory pricing. And it's a fine line between what is a predatory pricing maneuver and a discount feature that adds some total revenue to your picture. And you know what I mean. So here's a test of how we might differentiate between those two. And I'm just using ordinary lay person kind of principles. I'm assuming that you're a well-informed Catholic who understands what the Catholic Church teaches about justice and charity and mercy and how to be fair, let's call it, to be fair to people. And I also assume that you understand how business works and that sometimes you offer discounts to attract new customers, to take customers away from your competitors. And there's nothing illegal or immoral about that, except if taken to an extreme. And there are laws and so on and so on. I don't need to get into that with you. But predatory pricing, one of the tests of it, an objective test is it to attract customers and improve my business by offering a better value, whether it's by price or by quantity or by quality of product, or am I actually trying to drive my competitors out of business? So that's one of the moral tests that I would offer as a layperson. I'm not a trained theologian. I'm not a leader of the church. I'm just a guy that understands how I've been taught the Catholic faith and how I've been taught how business works. And so may I suggest that in predatory pricing, obviously we need to avoid actions that are designed to disrupt or eliminate our competitors. That's aggressive and that's unfair. I think you might agree with me. But that doesn't mean that we can't offer discounts. It doesn't mean we can't offer fantastic bonus situations, extra quantities, lower pricing, longer promotional periods, early adoption of a new product before it's even ready on the assembly line, let's say. There's ways that we can avoid predatory pricing. And I won't say much more about that today. There's a lot of worry on my mind about pricing policy, pricing theory these days. All I will say today is that the Catholic business owner needs to be conscious then of properly pricing their product so that it's fairly done, that shows off to your advantage the goodness of your product, the brilliance of your service, the excellence of your people as they produce the product, but avoiding the predatory pricing scenario that is really designed to drive your customers out of business. Let's focus on people for a little bit. How can we be more Catholic in our treatment of our people? Here are about 5 or 6 ideas that I would just propose for your consideration. Many enlightened corporations out there, whether they're financial or operation manufacturing, they will offer time off or some kind of hours of work flexibility, random start times, random finish times, so that parents can pick up and drop off children, go to medical appointments, and so on, with core hours. For example, 10 till 2 is sometimes called the core hours. And you can start anytime between 8 and 10, and you can leave anytime between, I don't know, 3 and 5, let's say, as long as you work your 7.5 or your 8 or your 7.25 hours, whatever it is that's the standard for your business. What if we as Catholic businesses offered a greater kind of flexibility? And again, I'm going to ask you to take a look at your financial spreadsheet analysis that you've heard me speak about many times, and run this analysis to see what the cost of it will be and whether you can afford to do it. That's important because we need our businesses to be successful, and we need it to be present and in operation so that we can provide all these good things, such as stable employment and benefits to our employees. But what if we had time off for feast days or holy days of obligation, or important family events like, I don't know, the birthday of your children, the birthday of your spouse, your own birthday off, or your baptismal day, which is in some people's mind a more important day than the birthday, because the baptismal day is when you become a member of the body of Christ, and the birthday is not exactly that point. But the concept is time off or some kind of flexibility for Catholic situations, grieving a loss of a family member, whatever the state and the employment laws tell us we have to do as a minimum. What if we went beyond that as Catholics and offered some kind of flexibility, not just more days, but perhaps days that could be offset by working in the future, so that at the moment when something serious happens, we can take all the time that's necessary without hurting our production. Of course, there's a little balancing act there, but then making up for it later on, sort of having a bank time thing, that could possibly work. The banked hours idea then, what if we had a concept of a certain number of hours that could be taken, not as sick leave, not as short-term sick leave, not as long-term disability, but a certain number of hours that could be taken for medical appointments, for major feast days and family matters, such as preparation, school events, parent-teacher days, all these typical events that occur in a family. What if we had a pool of hours in our Catholic business that anybody could draw down upon at any time? And then when they draw down whatever the 20 hours, 30 hours, whatever it is, well, then that's it. Or there could be even additional flexibility. But you can see where I'm going with this. The idea is having a banked hours concept that allows people to then consider the needs of their family, well balanced against the needs of the business. This is the tricky part of being a Catholic business owner, but it can be done. We can go beyond what the state tells us to do, what the civil government tells us to do. I know we can, and so let us find ways to do that. Performance pay, very interesting, because we can create multi-levels of performance pay. We can create a team approach where a team gets a certain percentage of the performance bonus pay for their activities and their results as a team. We can recognize individual approach, of course, and then we can recognize company performance as well. So I usually propose to business owners 3 models for performance pay, and I consider that you should aggregate those and you should unite them into a single package. And so those 3 again are company performance. When there's profit sharing in a company, it does engender loyalty. It does. And you know that most of the research will tell you that this is true. Individual performance pay recognizes the contribution of the individual, which is a very important way of retaining key employees. And then finally, team approach, because we need to have team solutions to problems. We need to have a team-based approach. We can't just be a bunch of individuals randomly working in our businesses. We have to have team approach to things. And so these 3 ideas of performance pay can be valuable to promote family life, Catholic families, living wage, that sort of thing. Speaking of living wage, what is a living wage? Well, it's the concept that a single breadwinner, usually the husband or the father, except in the cases of a family where there's no father or husband due to death or other tragic events. The living wage is the concept that it takes one income and that a family can live on one income. This is a very big challenge in today's economy. But what if we made movements inch by inch, dollar by dollar towards a living wage, where we try to, running our spreadsheet analysis, as I've often said to you, to calculate what we can pay beyond the typical wages that are competitive for our industry. Could we pay a little bit more so that we could, again, engender loyalty, retention of that key employee, respect for their family life, honor the concept of a traditional family where one person can specialize in the workforce outside of the home, the other person can specialize in the workforce inside the home, including teaching of the children the religious faith, homeschooling, supporting the Catholic school with volunteer efforts and all that. You understand what I'm talking about. But the living wage is a single step that a Catholic business owner can possibly take. I'm also all about stability, like the monastic orders of the past, where a monk was granted the privilege, you could say, of stability. They would never be moved. They would never be taken away from their location. Could we do things inside of our company, inside of our Catholic business? Like, could each person have their own workstation? Now, that may be typical in an office environment, but in a lot of production facilities, you don't get to decide which machine you stand in front of. But what if you got the same machine every day when you reported for your shift, and you then could maintain that machine and clean it and orient it and operate it according to certain principles that allow it to last longer, and it would give you some pride of workmanship? What if you had your own assigned tools? Instead of a common shop set of tools, what if each person had a set of tools, whether cost shared 50-50 by the company and the employee, or even 100% by the company if it's possible to afford that? Certainly assigning a desk to a person, their own desk, their own workstation, that's traditional, that's been always around. But with the concept of hoteling going on these days, where people arrive at the office and they don't have their own workstation, but they have to just park themselves wherever they can. That's an interesting dilemma. Certainly remote work is very popular today, and there may be, in fact, a problem in the future as people come back to work after pandemic times. Will they even want to come back to in-person work? A lot of people won't. Stability also can be engendered by having fixed hours of work that are flexible. So the core hours we talked about a little while ago, for example, if you said the core hours are between 10 and 3 in the business, everybody has to be there at that time, but you can put in your 7 or 8 hours per day, whether you need a morning to drive the children, or you need the afternoon to pick up the children from wherever, activities, schools, and so on. You can create stable situations for employees without much cost, and without actually creating inefficiencies, because the work can get done, especially if you have a kind of a social contract with your employees, whether it's fully Catholic employees or mixed religions working in your shop or your office. You could create a culture that has a trusted bond relationship between the employee and the team, as well as the team and the company itself. The final area I want to talk about today is the area of input from employees. Many companies speak bravely, I call it. They're brave about, yes, we respect the input of all our employees, but of course they don't do that very well. So I'm all about suggesting that we have advisory committees of employees that talk about productivity and about the quality issues and production issues, or the office, or how we do our marketing and how we do our sales, or troubleshooting on emergency situations. When a situation happens, often we are, particularly among leaders, never mind Catholic or not, but leaders of businesses often fly in, you could say, helicopter in, and start pumping out solutions, when in fact the solution might lie with our employees and the teams, especially if we have trusted them to begin giving advice on work, troubleshooting, on efficiency, on productivity, on speed and pace and quality and all these things. If we are able to do that and actually seek input from our employees in a way that respects their human dignity, does not hurt our ownership interest in our own company. Yes, I understand that, but it shouldn't hurt that. There's a way to do it so that people respect the employer, who in turn respects the employee. When that level of respect increases inside of a company, then we have something that's very unique. And it's Catholic because it responds to the human dignity. It respects the fact that there is dignity in work. There are many great papal encyclicals, as you know, on the dignity of work and of human work. And all of that does lead to retention. It's a stickiness factor that really permits more people to stay with us. And so these are some ideas for how to deal with people in ways that are, yes, every one of them will take some effort. They will take some cost. There will be a cost to it. There may be some revenue foregone. There may not be, though. There may actually be an enhancement in revenue and a greater pool of funding to pay for some of these things. And I know that with your wisdom as business leaders in calculating and analyzing things, you could actually come up with more creative ways than even the ones that are on this list. And you could possibly find a way to retain your people, respect their family life, in turn engendering their respect for your business, and in the end, turning out a higher quality product, a better service, a faster service, a more efficient service, something that your customers will love and want and respect, which in turn creates higher revenue, higher income, and greater ability to support all these Catholic things that we're talking about. It's all connected. And if we did more of this, I think we would see tangible results. And you hear me always talking about the financial spreadsheet analysis. You can simulate a lot of these things through the spreadsheet, and you can realize that it's a small dollar cost, often offset by higher productivity, higher loyalty, more quality, more loyalty. That's what we're after. So I hope that these ideas are of some help and that they actually contribute to your ability to be Catholic and successful in business. Thanks for joining me today. It's Henry Katarna, the Catholic CEO.